Alright, welcome back. This is part 3 of power distribution. The next one is called a confederation. As you can see, how do we distribute power? And one way is, or the third answer to that question is confederation. And here's the definition. Local, state, and provincial governments have power to make and enforce laws. The central government exists, but it only has the power given to it by the state and the local governments. The central government, if you're a picture person, the central government has no power of its own. It's only given power by the state, local, and provincial governments. Now that is the exact opposite of unitary. If you know what unitary is, then confederation is the exact opposite. These kinds of governments don't last long. When there's a revolution, as in the American Revolution, we had what was called, after that revolution was over, when we were deciding what kind of country we're going to be, and how we're going to answer this question, how are we going to distribute power? In the meantime, we had what was called a confederation, and the Articles of Confederation were before our current Constitution. So a good example of that would be America in between the end of the American Revolution and the beginning of our current Constitution, which I believe was ratified in 1786, if memory serves correctly. So there's about, I'm not sure how many years the Articles of Confederation. That may be good for you to look up. Of course, the American South during the Civil War was a Confederate government. The Confederate States of America didn't work out too well, did it? And like I say, these don't last that long because they don't work. If there's a war and the central government says, hey, this country over here is coming against us with an army, we need to raise an army, and these guys down here in Georgia and Florida and maybe like Pennsylvania, Virginia, or Ohio, whatever, they say, well, we don't want to send any troops, and so we're not going to. Well, guess what? Your country's going to lose. Okay, so that doesn't work out too well. So why might small units of government, like state, local, and provincial governments, get involved in a confederation? Well, they group themselves together. It's kind of like an alliance almost. They group themselves together and they say, you know, we're very small, and so we're going to group ourselves together to either offer physical protection in the event that we're attacked, or economic protection. And that's more or less the kinds of confederation you see going on in the world today are actual countries who will come together and make an agreement with one another. Hey, you keep your flag, you keep your language, you keep your culture, but we're going to agree to come together and act like one big economy. NAFTA is, I think, a good example of that. The former colonies of Great Britain and Northern Ireland are called the Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth, and it's kind of an economic confederation. I'm trying to think of another example for you. The EU, the European Union, I think is considered. It could be considered an economic confederation. Okay, so it's a bunch of governments, a bunch of small governments who come together to form one government. But basically, that one government is powerless to make any decisions unless these guys all agree to it first. Thank you for watching and paying attention, and we'll have some good discussion, hopefully, in class tomorrow, and some activities to go along with the lessons. So make sure you watch Part 1, 2, and 3. So if you're just watching Part 3 right now, go back and watch Part 1 and 2. Thank you.